Chapter 5. Full Contact.
Corey jumps out of bed, panting uncontrollably, sweat dripping off his face as he reaches for his asthma pump. He just watched a woman get murdered and her arms removed, all of which he believes was a dream. Once he composes himself, he picks up his journal and begins to write. When he's done, Corey walks into the kitchen and realizes Lisa is home. He can hear the shower going and a fresh pot of coffee has been made. He takes a couple of puffs on his inhaler and begins to pour himself a cup, when he notices a folder on the counter. Inside the folder, crime scene photos of Jessica Raymond's mutilated body. The images instantly paralyze him with fear. The coffee overflows the cup and spills onto the counter. He continues to pour, as he flashes back to the previous night's dream. Dennis, driving slowly in his car, follows Jessica Raymond from the bus stop to her doorstep. When she takes out her keys to go inside, he approaches her. She recognizes him from the restaurant. He appears to be explaining something to her, then she lets him in. There is a flash of light. Dennis tries to subdue Jessica as she struggles to get away. He finally wrestles her to the ground and punches her in the face until she's bloody and unconscious. There is a flash of light. Jessica Raymond is hanging from the plumbing in the basement ceiling. She has 2 meat hooks in her back. Dennis approaches her and turns on the surgical saw. There is a flash of light. Corey begins to scream. He stumbles backward, then drops the coffee pot onto the floor. Lisa hears the scream and the sound of breaking glass. She jumps out of the shower, grabs her gun resting on the sink and slowly opens the bathroom door. With gun drawn, soapy water dripping from her naked body, she cautiously surveys the short hallway leading to her bedroom. Corey? Corey, is that you? Are you all right? As Lisa enters the kitchen, she sees the pictures scattered on the floor, the broken coffee pot, and a blood trail leading to a corner in the room, where Corey is curled up in a ball, shivering, feet bleeding from the broken glass. Lisa screams. Corey, she runs over to him and holds him close, tries to calm him down. What is it? What's wrong? Tell me what happened. It's real. It's all real. What's real? What are you talking about? My dream. It actually happened. What happened? She knows him. Why'd she let him in the house? Why'd she let him in? Who? Corey who? In a deep breathy tone, and an untimely smirk on his face, he calmly says the name. Jessica. Lisa slowly pulls away and stares at Corey in amazement. The buzzer to the apartment suddenly rings. Lisa, who is practically dry by now, walks over to the intercom, gun still in hand. Who is it? It's Boyd, detective. We have a suspect. Let me get some clothes on. Lisa, Corey and Nancy are sitting in the living room. Nancy fills Lisa in on the suspect while she tends to Corey's wounds. Corey is sitting on the sofa with his feet propped up on the coffee table. He is wearing sunglasses, a scarf, and writing in his journal. What happened to your feet? Asks Nancy. Lisa interjects. Clumsy oaf, he wasn't paying attention and he knocked over the coffee pot, then stepped in it. You owe me a coffee pot. Anyway, tell me about this guy. His name is Dennis Horf. He's a morgue tech over at St. Mary's Hospital. A morgue tech? How did we find him so fast? It seems he's the lead suspect in the murder of a medical examiner. Security cameras show him leaving work early. A few hours later, the body of the doctor was discovered, along with a list of equipment and supplies that are also missing. Then there's the matter of the missing head. Missing head? Mr. Horf decided to take a souvenir. Nancy holds up a newspaper with a picture of the deceased woman. It sure sounds like our guy. You got an address? Of course, that's why I'm here. We need to bring Mr. Horf in for questioning. As the women get up to leave, Corey picks up the newspaper. I know her. Nancy stops and turns around. You know the headless woman? I saw her in my dream. Corey. Lisa tries to cut him off. What's he talking about? Nothing. He just had a bad dream. Lisa snatches the paper out of Corey's hand. We'll talk about this later, when I get back. Try and get some rest. The two women leave the apartment and get on the elevator. There is an awkward silence between them as Nancy looks at the picture in the newspaper, then at Lisa, who is pretending to ignore her. What's wrong with your brother? He's a gay out-of-work actor. Oh. Dennis returns to his apartment in the city. He stops at a newsstand to read the newspaper headline, Medical Examiner Murdered, Co-worker Sought for Questioning. He felt somewhat relieved, they hadn't printed a photo of him yet. He enters his building and starts up the stairs as Mrs. Getz, the landlady, a short 65-year-old grey-haired woman, pops out her door. Dennis. Dennis stops midway on the stairwell and turns to face Mrs. Getz. Are you paying rent this month? You're already a month behind. How long am I going to have to wait? Dennis takes out a pair of gloves and puts them on as he walks back down the stairs toward Mrs. Getz. In my day, you wouldn't even consider not paying your rent. You young people need to be more responsible. Dennis is now standing over the landlady, not speaking a word, just staring down at her petite frame. Mrs. Getz, sensing something is wrong, lowers her voice and changes her tone as she stares up at Dennis apologetically. But if you need more time, I understand. I know young people have expenses, with your Wi-Fi thingy and your video games. Dennis slowly reaches into his jacket, her eyes widened with trepidation. He pulls out an envelope. The rent is handwritten on the label. He hands it to her and darts back up the stairs. Mrs. Getz places a hand on her chest and breathes a sigh of relief. As she closes her door, Lisa and Nancy enter the building. They proceed upstairs. Pi, are you sure this is the right building? This is it, apartment 2B. I'm telling you, this is our guy. We don't know that yet. If he's missing, he could be a victim too. Then again, if he is our guy, why would he come back here? He has to know this is the first place we'd look. You know, I think I'm starting to like being in the field, being more hands-on. It's so different from sitting in front of a computer screen all day. So, you think you might leave internal affairs and come to homicide? For the last time, detective, I am not with internal affairs. Lisa smirks. So you say, so you say. They arrive at apartment 2B, Lisa begins to knock on the door, but by her second knock the door slowly creaks open. The two women look at each other and simultaneously draw their weapons. Lisa takes the lead as they enter the apartment. Hello? Is anybody home? Mr. Horf. NYPD, sir. We just wanna ask you some questions. Dennis is nowhere to be seen. Lisa motions for Nancy to go right as she turns left into the spacious apartment. When she enters the kitchen, the first thing she notices, the same journal her brother Corey was writing in. On the cover, the Ludwig Institute for Dream Research. She takes it with her. Nancy turns on her flashlight, carefully checking each door. When she reaches the end of the hall, there is a door on her left that is slightly open, there is a red light coming from inside. She slowly opens it and sees a familiar sight, a life-size doll with no arms hanging from the ceiling. As she looks down, she realizes the room is filled with life-size dolls and body parts, at various stages of disassembly. They are everywhere. As she moves further into the room, she shines her light onto the walls. What she thought was wallpaper is actually pictures, thousands of them of Dennis and a woman, photographs taken throughout the years, from the time he was a young boy, then a teenager, and finally a young man, set in a panoramic montage. Nancy shakes her head in amazement. "Miller!" she shouts. Nancy turns and walks to the doorway, unaware that there is something moving beneath the pile of rubber and latex on the floor. "Detective, you need to see this." Dennis takes her from behind. Lisa follows the sound of Nancy's voice and comes to a room, but the door is closed. "Where are you?" "Boyd." With her gun facing forward, Lisa opens the door to reveal Dennis holding Nancy from behind in a choke hold. She's handcuffed, and he has a scalpel to her throat. Nancy's gun is in his other hand and pointed directly at Lisa. Dennis begins to walk forward, forcing her to back up. "We just wanted to ask you some questions." "Look, you don't want to do this. Make life easier on yourself, release the officer and put down your weapons." Dennis backs Lisa out of the apartment and into the hallway. Backup is on the way. In a matter of seconds, this building will be surrounded. You hurt her and there's no way you're leaving here alive. But neither are you, detective. Dennis squares up on Lisa, but before he can pull the trigger, Nancy jumps up and chin butts him, causing him to misfire, just missing Lisa's head. Nancy tries to leap forward, but Dennis catches her on the back of her head with the scalpel. She screams. Lisa tries to catch Nancy while letting off 2 rounds, both missing, but forcing Dennis back into his apartment. As Nancy slumps into her arms, Lisa takes out her keys and unlocks the handcuffs. She removes her top shirt and places it onto Nancy's head. "Are you all right?" "I'll live. Go get that son of a bitch." "Damn, my head hurts." Lisa kicks the door in. She hears movement above her as she walks into the kitchen, but there is no sign of Dennis. She notices a fire escape outside the open kitchen window. She climbs outside and heads for the roof. Dennis is waiting there for her, hands in the air. He appears to be unarmed. "Don't you move, you piece of shit." "Where's your weapon?" "I threw it away." "Bullshit." "On your knees, now." Dennis starts to walk backwards toward the edge of the roof as Lisa moves forward. "Stop moving, or so help me God, I'll shoot you where you stand." Dennis continues to walk backward until he's standing on the edge of the roof. One more step and he would fall. "Do you believe a man can fly, detective? Stop right there. Or a woman." As Lisa rushes forward, the ground beneath her suddenly caves in. The gun flies out of her hand as she begins to free fall, her outstretched arms reaching for anything to stop her descent. She manages to grab a fractured beam that was once part of the ceiling from the apartment below. Dennis walks over to her and kneels down. He takes out the gun from behind him and points it at Lisa, who's dangling from the edge of the roof. "I'm sorry, detective. I forgot to mention, this building is being renovated. Here, let me give you a hand." "I mean a foot." "No," Lisa screams. Dennis stomps on her hands until she can't hold on any longer. As she falls backward, he fires 4 rounds into her midsection. She hits the ground like a flat of bricks.